Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Stories. Today we are going to ask you about why or how or what happens when a buyer is responsible for the repairs to get their certificate of occupancy, and how do we get that done? Mason Greenblatt, thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you.
All right. So how do we handle that? So what happens? I know you're involved in a transaction right now where it's as is, buyer is responsible to get the certificate of occupancy. And in almost every case, there are some repairs or upgrades that are needed in order to do so. And tell us about that conversation you had with your buyer recently.
So he wanted to make the repairs himself. He realized that there was a fire inspection needed. He said, well, why can't I just go to the house and put up the smoke detectors? I've done it in my own house. I know how to do it. It's not, an impossible task. And the short answer was it's a liability. You being at that house and God forbid you trip, if you have a little step stool or whatever, a ladder, and you trip, you get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, I guess you could sue the seller, right?
I guess. Sure. Technically it is a liability, right? So, I'll give you the example of, I know a lot of agents out there, if you're watching this, we like to help our clients as much as we can. And in some cases, I know some agents that put smoke detectors up in clients' homes as a matter of convenience to help them out. And look, I'm a pretty handy guy. I know how to hang a smoke detector and then some. But if it's not my house and I'm using a screw gun and I put a screw into a wall and I hit an electrical wire, and I short something, or I hit a pipe and I pierce it. I mean, anything could happen, right? I mean, is it likely? It's not likely if you know what you're doing, but there's a reason why home improvement contractors in the state of New Jersey have to be licensed and insured, right? Obviously your client could be the handiest guy in the world, but for him to go do that, there's a risk. There's a risk to him. There's a risk to the property. It's actually an occupied property. So there's a risk to the folks that are living there. Right.
Yeah.
So I know that in many cases when we talk to people, Mason, like your clients, hey, I don't want to spend a few $100s or whatever it is to pay this contractor to go do that. We get it. We understand. But ultimately, it's about liability to protect you and everybody else.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the other big part of it is, well, if you got to pay contractor John to do it, well, how much money do I have to spend on all these repairs? When does the spending stop?
Yeah, I think that's a whole separate video, right? Yeah. I don't know. There has to be a cap there somewhere, right? At some point. And then there's the potential of, well, maybe there's a temporary certificate or, there's a lot of variables there. It depends on the town. Some towns are easier, some are tougher. And we've talked about that recently as well. So I don't know. But the first step to understand is if you are a buyer and you're purchasing a home in as-is condition, and they're making us as buyer's agents, buyer side, responsible to obtain the appropriate certificates for closing, don't assume that you are allowed to go in, or even I am allowed to go in, because we're not insured for it either, guys, to go in and make those repairs, right? Even if it's as simple as hanging a smoke detector, we're really not allowed to do that. And that's for everyone's protection. I guess the only exception that I can think of was I remember a transaction several years ago where an attorney drafted a hold harmless for the ability to go in and take care of those things. But it was pretty complicated to deal with that. And I think the house was vacant. So there's other things that come into play there versus somebody who's living in the house. So I guess short answer is, guys, buying a house as is, just assume that we'll help you, of course, because we know contractors and licensed handy people and all that kind of stuff. But you're not going to be able to necessarily take care of those repairs yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Did we get it?
That's
Anything
it.
else there? We're good?
We're good.
All right. Thank you. Once again, another episode of Real Estate Stories. If you haven't done so already, Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and there's more great content coming your way real soon.